Before you add another hack to your morning or one more box to your habit tracker, try subtracting. Most of us try to improve by doing more goals, more rules, more hustle layered on top of a nervous system already running hot. Buddhism flips the script. You improve by returning to presence, not by building a new self on top of the old noise, but by uncovering the one that's been here the whole time when the noise quiets. If that idea feels both unsettling and strangely relieving, you're exactly where real change begins. Picture 2 mornings. In the first, the day starts with a bright screen and a small jolt of comparison. Headlines tug, messages demand, the body tightens before the feet touch the floor. In the second, the phone waits. You sit upright and breathe 3 times without fixing anything. Shoulders drop. Sensation arrives first. The story comes later. Nothing dramatic has happened, yet the slope of the day has tilted from reactivity toward choice. Buddhism cares about that tilt. It's the difference between living under pressure and living with presence. In Buddhism, self-improvement isn't chasing a flawless you. It's remembering the you that's already here, beneath noise, pressure, and autopilot. Growth is deliberate, gentle, and powerful. One breath, one choice at a time. Think of this video as a compass, not a checklist. A compass doesn't nag you to move faster, it helps you move truer. Over the next minutes on Dharma Veins, I'll show you 7 small practices that rewire the day where it's most malleable. In the first hour, in the moment you choose one intention. In the instant a habit tries to hijack you. And in the quiet before sleep when tomorrow's path is laid. What does that look like in real life? It looks like building a morning that builds you, placing the first brick of the day with care so the structure can bear weight. It looks like choosing one clear intention, listen fully, speak kindly, or finish one deep task, so attention flows in a single direction instead of scattering. It looks like learning to break the pattern, not yourself. Inserting a breath and a count of 3 before you hit send. Putting the phone in another room when the scroll begins to pull, changing one condition so the whole loop changes. It looks like managing energy over time, reserving 2 45 to 60-minute deep work blocks for what actually matters and allowing honest recovery when the mind dips. It looks like auditing your environment with compassion, clearing a surface. Silencing non-essential notifications, choosing friends who lift your conduct, and noticing the stories you rehearse about yourself. It looks like discipline as self-love, boundaries and small rituals that feel like care, not punishment. And it looks like reflecting before you rest. 3 questions and 1 minute of kindness that release the day and make tomorrow's first step lighter. If you want proof that presence outperforms pressure, you don't have to look far. On days when people anchor to a single intention, listen fully, meetings shrink in drama and grow in clarity. A young nurse who turned her phone to grayscale and moved social apps off the home screen calls it friction for peace, and the peace holds. Consider how Martin Luther King Jr. prepared a speech, not by flooding the calendar, but by concentrating attention until the message rang true. Fewer hours, higher presence. Great work is the quality of attention, not the quantity of minutes. You might already feel the mind trying to turn this into another set of rules. Notice that, and relax. The most powerful changes here are small by design. Because small is survivable on ordinary days. One intention written on a sticky note. One conscious interruption of a loop. One protected block where your best thinking gets first access to your best energy. 1 minute at night where gratitude, a lesson, and a single intention align the heart and the next morning. And if you're worried you'll forget, good. Forgetting is part of the practice. We'll build recall into your day on purpose. A note where your eyes land in the morning. A midday check that asks, what was today for again? A brief evening review that resets the compass without judgment. This is not about white-knuckling your way to virtue. It's about arranging conditions so the mind prefers clarity because clarity has been made easier than chaos. Most people try to improve by doing more. Buddhism flips the script. Improve by returning to presence. In the next minutes you'll learn 7 small, powerful practices, from one clear intention to gently breaking harmful loops. Stay to the end for a 60-second exercise you can use today, a short, guided protocol that couples breath, posture, and a chosen intention so you can release, return, and act from what matters in under a minute. If you've been waiting for a reset that doesn't demand a different life, only a different way of meeting the one you have, welcome. Let's begin. 1. Build a morning that builds you. What makes a morning build you isn't the checklist, it's what those first minutes do to the inner formation of mind. In Buddhist analysis, the chain is simple but decisive. Contact, phassa, right pointing arrow feeling tone, vedana. Right pointing arrow craving, aversion, tanha. Right pointing arrow clinging, upadana. Right pointing arrow becoming, bhava. If the first contact of the day is a phone, bright light. Social comparison, micro threats. Vedana tilts unpleasant right pointing arrow, tanha reaches for relief right pointing arrow, the day is already patterned by seeking. A mindful morning interrupts that cascade before it hardens. On waking, don't move yet. Notice 3 layers. Body. Breath. Mood. Is the body tense or open? Is the breath shallow or steady? What is the baseline flavor? Pleasant? Unpleasant? Neutral? This is not poetry, it's measurement of vedana. Place a hand on the abdomen. Take 3 unforced breaths and watch whether the mood shifts even 2 degrees. Now ask a quieter question. What intention, sadhana, is already moving me? Planning? Resisting? Proving? Name it, and you've already loosened it. Then install one chosen intention. Speak kindly. Finish one task deeply. This is ekaggata in practice. A single vector for attention rather than a spray of impulses. Stand and let movement be a small bow to the body. Stretch as if you were telling the nervous system. Safe. Awake. Here, safety matters because agitation, uddhacca kukuka, and dullness, thina middha, are not moral failings. They're states that attention can meet and modulate. You're not trying to work out. You're resynchronizing posture, affect, and breath so presence becomes the path of least resistance. What you feed the mind next should be clean input with high signal. 1 page from a timeless text. A short prayer. A single line of journaling. In canonical terms, this is yoniso manasikara, wise attention that turns the mind toward causes and consequences. 1 sturdy sentence early will weigh more than 50 fragments later because the first trace becomes the template the system repeats. Decode the 3-3-3 routine at depth. 3 breaths, restore contact with the body. Vedana becomes legible. 3 stretches, tone the channel. Restlessness finds a direction. 3 lines of gratitude, counter condition aversion. Widen the field so fixation loosens. Gratitude here isn't sentiment. It is a selective weighting of attention away from scarcity narratives the phone would amplify. Seen this way, a mindful morning is a micro-curriculum of the Eightfold Path. Right intention precedes stimuli. Right effort is modest but continuous. Right mindfulness stays with breath and body. Right concentration emerges by removing friction, not by grim forcing. And sila is already present as a gentle boundary. 10 minutes of indriya samvara, sense restraint, before the world enters. Place the first brick with care, not to perform spirituality, but to incline the mind, sattva bhavana. You're altering the slope along which the next 16 hours will roll. Emails, traffic, and human friction will still arrive. But the system they meet is different, less outsourced to stimulus. More authored from within. That difference is quiet, and it is decisive. 2. 1 clear intention, ekaggata. Most people try to get better by piling on goals. Buddhism asks you to subtract scatter. Ekaggata, single-pointedness, doesn't mean tightening your jaw, it means aligning intention, attention, and action so they flow in one direction. In the canon, satthana, intention, is the quiet architect behind karma. It tilts the mind before any word is spoken. 1 clean intention said in the present tense, listen fully, speak kindly. Finish 1 deep task, creates a slope the day will naturally follow. Mechanically it works like this. Intention sets the attentional set. Mindfulness, sati, remembers it. And sustained application matures into samadhi, collectedness. When the phone pings, the body feels a micro-pull, phassa right pointing arrow vedana. And craving reaches for relief. An installed intention interrupts the drift. Remember what today is for. That retrieval is yoniso manasikara, wise attention, turning the mind toward causes and consequences instead of reflex. Keep the ritual embarrassingly simple. Write the intention on a sticky note. Place it where the eyes land in the morning. Touch it at noon. Read it once before evening winds down. 3 deliberate recalls are enough to keep the thread unbroken. Phrase it as an active behavior, not a vague mood. Pause 1 breath before replying. Walk slowly to every meeting. Ship 1 meaningful page. If you like structure, use an if, then. If I open email, then I take 1 breath and answer the oldest message first. That converts aspiration into a traceable micro-policy. Expect 2 frictions. First, greed for more. The mind will want to stack 5 intentions by lunch. Resist. More vectors reintroduce the very diffusion you're curing. Second, self-judgment when you miss a check-in. Drop it. In Buddhist training appamata, careful diligence beats perfection. The move is always the same. Notice the slip. Return gently. Continue. Measure lightly. Did you enact the intention 3 times today? That counts. Did it reduce papancha, the mind's tendency to proliferate stories? That's the deeper metric. On days anchored to listen fully, conversations lose spectacle and gain signal. Meetings shrink in drama and grow in clarity. The gain isn't only productivity, it's peace. The felt coherence that comes when one strong intention carries the mind. And the mind, finally, carries the day. 3. Break the pattern. Not yourself. Paticca samuppada. You're not defective, you're patterned. Paticca samuppada, dependent origination, describes how experience self-assembles. Phassa, contact, triggers vedana, feeling tone. Which conditions tanha, craving, aversion. Which hardens into upadana, clinging. Which drives bhava, becoming, and action. The point is practical, not metaphysical. Loops live on conditions. Shift 1 condition and the loop no longer completes in the old way. Anger, procrastination, doom scrolling. These aren't moral verdicts. They're chains that can be cut at any link. Where to intervene? First, at contact. Add indriya sambara, sense restraint. Before replying to a tense message. Inhale. Silently count 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Then speak. You're inserting space between spark and fuel. Second, at feeling tone. Name it, tightness in the chest. Unpleasant. Heat in the face. Labeling vedana reduces the reflex to reach for tanha. Third, at craving. Create friction. Put the phone in another room after 9:30 p.m. Set Wi-Fi off at lights out. Place sweets on the top shelf. Micro-obstacles make old grooves less convenient than the new path. Fourth, at attention. Apply yoniso manasikara, wise attention. Ask, what is the next kind act here? Not, how do I win this thread? Operationalize with tiny, testable policies. Use if, then plans. If I open email, then 1 breath and answer the oldest first. If I feel the urge to scroll, then 2 minutes of anapanasati, breathing awareness. Keep a pattern log for 7 days. Cue. Action. Aftermath. You'll see that certain hours, places, and people act as reliable triggers. Alter 1. Move the charger. Change the chair. Shift the meeting time 10 minutes later. This is sama vayama, right effort, not heroic strain, but continuous, targeted nudge. Drop the self-attack. Shame is just more upadana. In training, appamada, careful diligence, and metta, kindness, are performance enhancers. When you slip, note it, return gently, reinstall the condition. Over days, vitakka vikara, initial and sustained attention, stabilizes into samadhi, collectedness. The mind begins to prefer clarity because clarity has been made easier than chaos. Concrete results follow. A young mother replaced midnight scrolling with 2 minutes of breath. Within a week her sleep stabilized. And within a month her mornings reset to calm. A manager who counted to 3 before speaking watched meetings deflate in drama and inflate in signal. Nothing mystical happened. Conditions change, so outcomes change. Break the pattern, not yourself. 4. Manage energy over time. Time is a container. Energy is the content. In Buddhist training, that content is viriya, the faculty of wholesome effort. What moves a day forward is not clock time but the quality of attention poured into it. 1 collected hour routinely outperforms 8 fragmented ones because presence compresses progress while pressure dilutes it. Treat energy as something you can observe, steer, and replenish. Sati, mindfulness, does the observing. Notice when the mind is bright. steady, or dull. The hindrances name the drags on energy: sloth, torpor, thina mitta; restlessness, worry, uddhacca, kukuka; craving, tana; aversion, vyapada; doubt, visakicha. Management starts by matching task to state. When energy is high and the mind is quiet, do deep work, writing, analysis, design. When energy is middling, handle admin. When it's low, recover, walk, breathe, tidy, or step outside. That isn't laziness, it's samavayama, right effort, applied with intelligence rather than bravado. Use a simple protocol. Guard 2 deep work blocks of 45 to 60 minutes. Close the door. Silence notifications, indriya samvara, sense restraint, and work on exactly one object. Begin each block with 3 unforced breaths. Keep a single sentence visible. Today's intention, blank. End the block by writing a one-line state of play, so re-entry is fast later. Judge the block by a meaningful unit shipped, a page drafted, a model tested, not minutes sat in the chair. Between blocks, perform micro-renewals, stand, stretch the chest, drink water, catch natural light, and take 10 mindful breaths. Label your current state: scattered, sleepy, edgy, then choose the smallest move that raises clarity by 1 notch. Keep a weekly energy ledger. Note times and contexts of peak clarity. Schedule heavy work into those windows, not into your ideals. Balance matters. In the 5 spiritual faculties, saddha, viriya, sati, samadhi, panya, energy and concentration must meet. Too much drive without calm yields agitation. Too much calm without drive yields drift. Aim for the middle where viriya feeds samadhi and samadhi stabilizes viriya. Also watch chanda, wholesome aspiration, versus tana, grasping. The former fuels sustainable effort, the latter burns hot and quits. Think of Martin Luther King Jr. refining a speech: fewer hours, higher presence. The deliverable wasn't time spent, it was clarity delivered. Manage energy over time, and time begins to serve you, not the other way around. 5. Audit your environment, with compassion. Environment is not decor, it is conditioning. In Buddhist terms, paticca samuppada reminds us that mind states arise dependent on causes and conditions. If your desk is a tangle of objects, your phone a carnival of alerts, and your conversations saturated with complaint, you have built a greenhouse for papancha, the mind's tendency to proliferate stories. Begin where conditions touch attention most. Start with the physical field. Clear one surface completely. Practice 1 in 1 out for objects to keep entropy from reclaiming space. This isn't aesthetic minimalism, it's indriya samvara, guarding the sense doors so sight does not constantly provoke vedana, feeling tone, that tilts toward agitation. Then tune the digital field. Silence non-essential notifications. Move social apps off the home screen. Or use grayscale to reduce reward salience. Create no-screen zones, bedroom, dining table, and time fences, the first and last 30 minutes of the day. These micro-boundaries are a form of sila, not moralism, but environmental ethics that protect clarity. Now examine the social field. Seek kalyanamitta, good friends whose presence elevates conduct and view. You are not withdrawing love from difficult people. You are adjusting proximity so that compassion can remain workable. Notice the energetic residue after interactions, lighter or heavier, open or contracted. Map these signals and schedule accordingly. Finally, audit the inner weather. The environment includes the stories you rehearse. Track the top 3 narratives that run automatically: scarcity, injury, urgency. Meet each with yoniso manasikara, wise attention, by asking, what evidence would falsify this story today? That question punctures inevitability and restores sati, mindfulness, at the center. Implement with small mechanics. Use trays and labels to reduce decision friction. Keep a staging shelf for objects in transit so surfaces stay clean. Put chargers outside the bedroom. Set your phone to deliver texts in batches. A nurse I know put her phone in grayscale and moved social apps off the home screen. She calls it friction for peace. It works because it changes the cost structure of habit. Attention must now cross a threshold. And that pause is where choice lives. Audit with compassion, not contempt. The aim isn't sterility. It's fit, a habitat that makes wholesome states easier than unwholesome ones. Guard attention like it's sacred, because in practice, it is the gate through which your whole life enters. 6. Discipline as self-love. Sila is often mistranslated as rule-keeping. In training, it functions more like protective architecture for the mind. Discipline, in this sense, isn't punishment. It's how love guards your attention so wisdom can do its work. Think of Sila as the design constraints that prevent your day from collapsing into reactivity. Sleep on time, 10 minutes of meditation, 10 minutes of reading, clear boundaries with people and with apps. Not perfectly, consistently. Consistency is what teaches the nervous system that calm is normal, not accidental. The engine underneath discipline is sadhana, intention. When intention is wholesome, chanda, effort, virya, is sustainable. When it slides into grasping, tanha, effort burns hot, then quits. Sila keeps intention clean by removing the easiest avenues of regret. Speak truthfully. Don't harm. Don't steal time, from others or from your future self. These aren't moral slogans, they're cognitive load reducers. Fewer lies, fewer cover stories, less intoxication, less fog. The mind spends less energy repairing yesterday and more energy meeting today. Notice how this reframes willpower. You don't white-knuckle your way through temptations, you pre-decide the environment. This is Indriya Samvara, guarding the sense doors. Phone sleeps outside the bedroom. Notifications are off by default. Meetings end 5 minutes early to leave a breath between calls. You are literally building the space between stimulus and response that Viktor Frankl named. Sila carves that space into the schedule so freedom isn't a hope, it's a slot on the calendar. Keep practices embarrassingly small. 10 quiet minutes counts. 1 page read deeply counts. A single hard no to an unaligned request counts. The standard is honest repetition, not heroic output. In canonical terms, Sila supports samadhi, collectedness. Samadhi clarifies panya, discernment, panya. In turn, motivates finer Sila. The loop is virtuous when you let good enough again replace perfect. Never expect relapse without self-attack. Harshness is just more upadana, clinging, in religious clothing. The correction is appamada, careful diligence, and metta, a tone of inner friendship. Miss a night's sleep time? Realign tonight. Snapped at someone? Apologize. Name the cue that set you off. Reinstall the boundary. Sila is lived in the next behavior. Measured pragmatically. Discipline is working when your day has fewer points of friction. Your attention returns faster after drift. And your choices feel lighter because many were made upstream. That felt lightness is not control. It is the freedom that arrives when love takes responsibility for the conditions your mind must live in. 7. Reflect before you rest. Reflection at day's end is not sentimentality. It is pakavekkhana, systematic review that resets the mind's defaults. The sequence is simple and robust. 3 quiet minutes to examine gratitude. Lesson. Intention. Then 1 minute of metta. Each element maps onto core factors of the path and interrupts the habitual chain of phassa right-pointing arrow, vedana right-pointing arrow, tanha right-pointing arrow, upadana right-pointing arrow, bhava that otherwise carries into sleep. Gratitude is not positive thinking. It is yoniso manasikara, wise attention, aimed at what was wholesome and supportive. Naming, what brightened me today, strengthens sankhara that incline the mind toward generosity and contentment. Countering the brain's bias for threat. 2 or 3 concrete lines suffice. A gentle exchange. A solved problem. A moment of stillness. This is how you shift the feeling tone, vedana, of the day from scarcity to sufficiency without denying difficulty. Lesson converts experience into panya, discernment. Ask, what did the day teach? And trace one cause and effect. Perhaps skipping lunch drove irritability. Perhaps 1 breath before replying saved 15 minutes of repair. You are training causal literacy, how conditions produce outcomes. That literacy is the doorway to freedom because it reveals where to intervene tomorrow. Not in vague resolutions, but in specific links of the chain. Intention sets sadhana for the next cycle. Name 1 thing you will carry forward, clear. Behavioral. Small. Pause 1 breath before answering. Walk slowly to my first meeting. Finish 1 page. Framed this way. Intention seeds ekagata, single-pointedness, for the morning. Write it down. The body learns through repetition and visible cues. Close with 1 minute of metta, well-wishing for yourself and others. This isn't decoration. Metta purifies the affective climate in which sleep unfolds, softening vyapada, ill will, and loosening upadana, tight clinging, that would otherwise rehearse themselves all night. A simple cycle, may I be safe, may they be safe, may we be at ease, is enough to tilt the heart toward release. The mechanics are modest. Sit or lie still. 3 slow breaths. 3 prompts. 1 minute of metta. Keep a small notebook by the bed. Write bullets, not essays. If the mind drifts, mark it and return. Over weeks the payoff becomes obvious. Fewer ruminations at lights out. Quicker recovery after hard days. And a morning that begins on purpose rather than in repair. As many teachers emphasize, peace is practiced one step at a time. Nightly reflection simply makes tomorrow's first step lighter and more likely. 8. 60 second practice. This 60-second protocol is a deliberate state shift, not a token pause. It couples bottom-up regulation, breath, posture, facial effect, with top-down framing, a chosen intention, so the nervous system and the narrative align. In Buddhist terms, you're training sati, mindfulness, to meet experience first. Then installing satana, intention, that will steer action when conditions change. Sit upright signals dignity and wakefulness. The body tells the mind, be here. Closing the eyes is gentle indriya samvara, a brief reduction of visual input so attention can collect. Now the breath becomes the anchor, anapanasati. Pairing wording with respiration gives attention a clear object. On the inhale, I release, a micro-permission to loosen upadana. Clinging, on the exhale, I return, come back to the body. The room, the immediacy of contact. The sequence is intentionally simple, sensation first, story later. 5 breaths matters for mechanics. It's long enough for the heart rate to begin to settle and vagal tone to rise. Short enough to fit inside real life. You're not chasing calm, you're demonstrating to the organism that a stable base is available on command. That demonstration, repeated, becomes samadhi in miniature, collectedness that can be recalled. Only after the state shift do you set one clear intention. Name it as a behavior. In the present tense, listen fully. Pause 1 breath before replying. Finish 1 deep task. This is samma sankappa, right intention, constrained to a single vector. Ekagata, single-pointedness. Now mentally place that intention into 3 contexts: morning, noon, evening. You're doing 2 things. 1. Creating retrieval cues for perspective memory. And 2. Rehearsing the motor of the choice so it fires faster when the cue appears. The small smile is not decoration. It shifts facial musculature and effect toward metta, goodwill, kindness. Not pressure. That tone change matters because harshness is just refined grasping. Goodwill lowers internal resistance so intention can execute without backlash. You're encoding the intention in a field of friendliness, which makes repetition more likely. Open the eyes and carry the imprint forward. Use this minute at transitions, before email, after meetings, upon arriving home. If you like data, track 2 signals for a week. How often did you remember the intention at the 3 anchors? How quickly did attention return after drift? When recall rises and return time falls, the practice is doing exactly what it claims, teaching the mind to release, to return, and to act from what matters. Build your morning with care. Anchor 1 clear intention, ekagata, so attention runs in a single steady current. When an old loop tries to pull you back, change 1 condition, paticca samuppada in action, and the loop loses power. Spend your best energy where it truly matters and let the rest of the day be lighter by design. Shape a compassionate environment outside and inside. Let sila guard your peace so choices feel clean rather than cramped, and before you sleep, reflect, gratitude, lesson, intention. So tomorrow begins on purpose, not in repair. Growth isn't a sprint, it's a quiet revolution of attention. If this helped, subscribe to Dharma Veins for weekly teachings that turn anxiety into clarity. And share this with someone who needs a calm reset today. And in the spirit of the Buddha's boundless compassion, may any goodness from this practice reach all beings now facing suffering, those in the path of storms, earthquakes, fires, and floods, those living through war, displacement, fear, and separation, the injured, the grieving, the hungry, and the lost. May they find safety, medicine, shelter, and wise helpers. May hearts soften and leaders choose peace. May relief arrive swiftly, and may we, in whatever small ways we can, become instruments of compassion. May all beings be safe. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings know peace. As you leave, tell me in the comments, what one condition will you change this week to break an old loop? Which single intention will you carry morning, noon, evening? And what tiny environmental tweak will make calm your default?